There's a type of question that doesn't seek truth, it seeks control. You felt it before, that twist in your gut when someone asks you something that feels wrong, but you can't put your finger on why. That moment when a simple question makes your chest tighten and your mind race. You want to answer honestly, but something deeper whispers, this isn't what it seems. That whisper, it's your intuition, recognizing a weapon disguised as curiosity. Liars don't just lie with words. They lie with questions. Questions designed to manipulate, not understand. Questions that make you doubt your own reality, question your own judgment, and surrender your power without even realizing it. These aren't innocent inquiries seeking information. They're psychological traps, carefully constructed to destabilize your confidence and make you more compliant. The most dangerous part? These questions feel reasonable on the surface. They masquerade as normal conversation, but underneath, they're tools of control, wielded by people who understand something most of us don't. The right question, asked at the right moment, can make you abandon your truth and accept theirs. But here's what changes everything. Once you know their tactics, you'll never see the world the same again. Once you recognize the patterns, you become immune to their power. You stop being the target and become the observer. You stop reacting and start responding. Today, we're going to dissect 5 questions that liars use to control you. Not just identify them, but understand the psychology behind them, the Stoic wisdom that shields you from their influence, and the precise responses that turn their weapons into paper tigers. 1. Why are you so sensitive? The gaslight grenade, an accusation disguised as a question. Picture this. You've noticed something that doesn't add up. Maybe it's a story that changed between tellings. Maybe it's behavior that contradicts someone's words. Maybe it's just that gut feeling that something isn't right. So you ask about it, calmly, reasonably, seeking clarity. And then it comes, why are you so sensitive? In 4 words, they've accomplished something remarkable. They've taken your legitimate concern and reframed it as your emotional failing. They've shifted the conversation from their behavior to your reaction. They've made you the problem. This question is designed to make you question your own perceptions. It plants a seed of doubt. Am I being too sensitive? Am I overreacting? Maybe I should just let this go. But here's what the Stoics understood about this manipulation. We suffer more in imagination than in reality, wrote Seneca. The manipulator wants you to suffer in your imagination, to imagine that your clear seeing is actually distorted vision, that your healthy boundaries are unhealthy reactions. They fear the one who sees clearly because clarity is their enemy. A sensitive person, meaning someone sensitive to inconsistencies, to manipulation, to deception, is their greatest threat. So they weaponize the word against you. The truth, sensitivity isn't weakness, it's awareness. It's the ability to pick up on subtle cues, to notice when things don't align, to feel the discomfort that signals something is wrong. In a world full of noise, sensitivity is a superpower. When someone asks, why are you so sensitive, and they're really asking, why won't you ignore what you're seeing? Your response isn't defensive, it's clear. I'm not sensitive. I'm observant. Are you uncomfortable with that? Watch what happens. Hold the gaze. Don't flinch. Don't explain. Don't justify. Just let the question hang in the air and observe their reaction. A person seeking genuine understanding will clarify. A manipulator will escalate or deflect. Either way, you've learned something valuable. Hold the gaze. Watch the mask slip. 2. You trust me, right? The trust trap, an unearned demand for loyalty, disguised as a relationship check-in. Trust is one of the most beautiful things humans can share. It's also one of the most vulnerable. Real trust is built slowly, through consistent actions over time. It's earned through reliability, honesty, and the thousand small moments where someone proves themselves worthy of your faith. But manipulators understand something twisted about trust. They know most good people want to be trusting. They know you don't want to be suspicious, cynical, or guarded. They know you'd rather believe than doubt. So they weaponize your goodness against you. "You trust me, right?" isn't really a question. It's a demand wrapped in relationship language. It's saying, prove your loyalty by abandoning your judgment. Show me you care by ignoring your concerns. Demonstrate your love by silencing your questions. The timing is always perfect. It comes right when you're starting to wonder. Right when you're beginning to see inconsistencies. Right when your intuition is sending up warning flares. It's designed to make you feel guilty for having doubts, selfish for wanting clarity, bad for not automatically extending the benefit of the doubt. Epictetus taught us it is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows. Manipulators don't want you to learn. They want you to assume. They want you to fill in the gaps with your hopes rather than facts, your wishes rather than evidence. When someone asks, "You trust me, right?" they're really asking, will you stop asking questions? This is where ancient wisdom meets modern manipulation. The Stoics understood that blind trust isn't virtue. It's abdication of responsibility. Marcus Aurelius didn't trust people because he hoped they were good. He observed their actions and let those actions earn his trust. Welcome to Rise of Stoic. I'm Dr. Stoic, your guide to navigating life's storms with the unshakable clarity of Stoic wisdom. Your response to the trust trap isn't cruel, but it is clear. Are you asking me to ignore my judgment? This response does something powerful. It reframes the conversation from relationship loyalty to personal integrity. It makes them clarify whether they're asking for reasonable trust or unreasonable blindness. A trustworthy person will understand. They'll realize that healthy relationships include space for questions, for concerns, for the ongoing process of building trust through actions. They might even appreciate that you take trust seriously enough not to give it carelessly. A manipulator will be frustrated. They wanted compliance, not conversation. They wanted surrender, not dialogue. Either way, you've maintained your integrity. Liars expect panic. Give them stillness. 3. Are you accusing me of something? The defensive flip, the ultimate redirection where suddenly you're the aggressor for asking a reasonable question. This is perhaps the most sophisticated manipulation on our list because it's so perfectly crafted to make you retreat. You ask a simple question, seeking clarification, wanting to understand, trying to make sense of something that doesn't add up, and suddenly you're painted as the prosecutor in a trial you didn't know you were conducting. The brilliance of this manipulation lies in its emotional impact. Most decent people don't want to be accusatory. They don't want to be the person who assumes the worst, who interrogates, who makes others feel attacked. So when someone asks, "Are you accusing me of something?" it triggers immediate self-doubt. Am I being accusatory? Was my question too harsh? Maybe I should back down. Maybe I should apologize. But here's what's really happening. They're flipping the script. They're making your reasonable question into an unreasonable attack. They're transforming their need to explain into your need to apologize. The Stoics had a phrase for this kind of manipulation. They called it confusing the roles. Marcus Aurelius wrote extensively about the importance of seeing situations clearly, without the distortion of emotional manipulation. The first step toward wisdom is knowing when to be silent, taught the ancient philosophers. But they didn't mean silent in capitulation. They meant silent in power. The silence that comes from knowing you don't need to defend what wasn't an attack. When someone asks, "Are you accusing me of something?" They're really saying, stop asking questions that make me uncomfortable. Your response isn't defensive or explanatory. It's surgical in its precision. Hold eye contact. Pause. Let the silence stretch just long enough to be noticeable. Then say, should I be? 3 words that change everything. You haven't accused, you haven't attacked, you've simply reflected their question back to them in a way that forces them to confront their own behavior. If they have nothing to hide, your question won't threaten them. If they do, their reaction will tell you everything you need to know. Watch what happens in that pause. Watch their body language. Listen to their response. A person with nothing to hide will often laugh, clarify, or simply answer your original question. A person with something to hide will escalate, deflect, or try a different manipulation tactic. When you stay calm, you hold the power. You're no longer reacting to their emotional manipulation. You're observing it, which renders it powerless. 4. Would I ever lie to you? The performance piece, a question designed to seduce your doubt and make you feel guilty for having any. This might be the most insidious question on our list because it masquerades as intimacy while actually being manipulation. It sounds like someone opening their heart, showing vulnerability, expressing hurt, that you could even question their honesty. But listen more carefully. Would I ever lie to you? Is rarely asked by someone who's been completely honest. It's asked by someone who needs you to stop looking too closely, who needs you to abandon your critical thinking in favor of emotional compliance. The question is designed to make you feel bad for doubting, small for questioning, wrong for having concerns. It's meant to trigger your guilt, your empathy, your desire to be trusting and loving. It plays on your best instincts to manipulate your judgment. Here's what makes it so effective. It doesn't actually answer anything. It's not, I didn't lie to you, or let me explain what really happened, or I can see why this looks confusing. It's a deflection dressed up as hurt feelings. Marcus Aurelius advised, do not waste what remains of your life in speculating about others. But he didn't mean to be naive. He meant to observe actions rather than getting lost in endless analysis of motives. The question isn't whether someone would lie to you in theory, it's whether they have lied to you in practice. When someone asks, would I ever lie to you? They're really asking, will you choose to believe me despite the evidence? The Stoic response isn't to speculate about their capacity for dishonesty, it's to focus on what you can actually know. Your response is precise and devastating in its simplicity. That's not the question. The question is, would I know if you did? This response does something remarkable. It takes the conversation away from their hurt feelings and back to the actual issue, your ability to discern truth from fiction. It's not about whether they're capable of lying. Everyone is. It's about whether you're capable of recognizing it when it happens. An honest person will often pause and think about this. They might realize that trust isn't just about good intentions. It's about transparency, consistency, and the ability to verify what you're told. A manipulator will hate this response because it puts the power back in your hands. They wanted you to focus on their feelings. You've redirected to focus on your discernment. Liars operate in fog. You just flipped on the floodlight. 5. Can't we just move on? The emotional fatigue card, the manipulation designed to exhaust you into compliance. By the time this question emerges, you've usually been through several rounds of the previous tactics. You've asked reasonable questions and been called sensitive. You've sought clarity and been asked to prove your trust. You've tried to understand and been painted as accusatory. You've looked for honesty and been made to feel guilty for doubting. You're tired. Emotionally, mentally, spiritually tired, and that's exactly when they play this card. Can't we just move on? It sounds reasonable, it sounds mature, it sounds like someone who wants to focus on the future rather than dwelling on the past. It appeals to your desire for peace, for resolution, for an end to the conflict. But here's what's really happening. They're trying to close the door on accountability before walking through it. They want the benefit of moving forward without the responsibility of explaining what happened. They want peace without truth, resolution without understanding. This question is particularly effective because it makes you feel unreasonable for wanting clarity. It paints you as someone who can't let things go, who holds grudges, who's more interested in being right than being happy. But the Stoics understood something crucial about this dynamic. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." Moving on without understanding isn't wisdom, it's willful ignorance. Peace without truth isn't peace, it's surrender. When someone asks, "Can't we just move on?" they're really saying, "Can't you just accept my version of events without further question?" Your response honors both your need for understanding and your capacity for genuine forgiveness. I'll move on when I understand what happened, not before. This isn't stubbornness, it's self-respect. It's the recognition that real resolution requires real understanding, that genuine peace can only be built on a foundation of truth. Notice what this response does. It doesn't refuse to move on. It sets the conditions for moving on. It says you're willing to find peace, but not at the expense of your understanding. It demonstrates that you value the relationship enough to want it built on solid ground. A person genuinely interested in resolution will work with you to achieve understanding. They'll recognize that shortcuts to peace often lead to longer-term problems. A manipulator will be frustrated because they wanted capitulation, not collaboration. They wanted you to abandon your questions, not answer them. Refuse to be rushed. The truth has no deadline. The Stoic Shield Final Reflection. We've journeyed through 5 questions that masquerade as normal conversation but actually function as tools of control. Each one designed to make you abandon your clarity, surrender your judgment, and accept someone else's version of reality over your own. But now you see them for what they are. The person who asks, "Why are you so sensitive?" fears your clarity. The person who asks, "You trust me, right?" wants unearned faith. The person who asks, "Are you accusing me of something?" wants to avoid answering. The person who asks, "Would I ever lie to you?" wants you to ignore the evidence. The person who asks, "Can't we just move on?" wants closure without accountability. Here's what the Stoics understood that modern manipulators don't. A person who sees clearly becomes dangerous to those who operate in deception. Not dangerous in the sense of causing harm, but dangerous in the sense of being uncontrollable. When you recognize these patterns, when you respond with clarity instead of emotion, when you hold your ground without losing your composure, you become someone who cannot be easily manipulated. You become someone who operates from wisdom rather than reaction. The ancient philosophers taught that the greatest freedom comes not from avoiding difficult people, but from developing the wisdom to navigate them without losing yourself. Every manipulative question becomes an opportunity to practice Stoic principles. Clarity over confusion, observation over reaction, wisdom over emotion. This doesn't make you cold or unloving. It makes you discerning. It makes you someone who can extend genuine trust because you're not afraid to withdraw it when it's betrayed. It makes you someone who can offer real forgiveness because you're not afraid to require real understanding first. The liars in your life don't just lie with words, they lie with feelings, making you feel guilty for having boundaries, selfish for asking questions, wrong for trusting your instincts. But feelings, even manipulated ones, aren't facts. Your emotional reactions to their questions aren't evidence of your flaws. They're evidence of your wisdom, recognizing a threat. You don't have to fight for the truth. You just have to stop believing the lie. You don't have to prove you're not too sensitive, too suspicious, too demanding, or too stubborn. You just have to be willing to trust your own perceptions and stand behind your own questions. When you stop flinching at their psychological tactics, you start winning the game they didn't want you to know you were playing. A liar's power is in your reaction. Take it back. Remember, every time you respond to manipulation with stoic clarity instead of emotional reaction, you're not just protecting yourself, you're modeling something powerful for everyone watching. You're showing them what it looks like to remain unshaken in the face of psychological pressure. You're demonstrating that it's possible to be both kind and strong, both loving and discerning. The world needs more people who can't be easily manipulated. It needs more people who ask clear questions and expect honest answers. It needs more people who understand that real relationships are built on truth, not comfortable lies. You can be one of those people. You are one of those people. If you found this valuable, like, subscribe, and comment. I choose peace. Let's build this community together. A community of people who choose wisdom over manipulation, clarity over confusion, and truth over comfortable lies. When you stop flinching, you start winning.